was wrong, we felt it inside. Something told us do not comply. Turn off the news, turn off the TV. It's time to think, get off your knees. We tried to warn loved ones, oh did we try? We tried to save lives, but we were denied. Sadly we failed and many of them died. We were kicked to the side, we did not hide. We took to the streets, we would not comply. Our conscience told us this was the world's largest lie. At first we were few, but we shortly grew. Melbourne streets saw sights that had never been seen. We fought for our rights, for all to be free. People thrown to the ground, pepper spray to the face. No matter what age, we were locked up and caged. Then the guns came out, they had no care. They shot their own people, running in fear, unarmed and peaceful. We stood for our rights, they would not stop us. We would not give up the fight. We were locked out of cafes, our families withdrew. No Christmas, no birthdays, no celebrations we knew. We were germs, enemies, a danger to you. You watched the counts on mainstream news. No further would you look, we were all cooked. Deluded, brainwashed, segregation we lived through. Whilst you lived your life without any clue. People thrown to the ground, pepper spray to the face. No matter what age, we were locked up and caged. Then the guns came out, they had no care. They shot their own people, running in fear, unarmed and peaceful. We stood for our rights, they would not stop us. We would not give up the fight. Something was wrong, we felt it inside. Something told us do not comply.
Good evening and welcome to Matcha Moments. Tonight's guest is Justin. Justin is from Washington, D.C. In 2021, Justin unfortunately took the COVID shots and has never been the same since. So let's welcome Justin and thank him for coming on because it is 3 a.m. over there.
Well,
Hi,
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for coming on, especially at this time. It is 3 a.m., isn't it?
It is 2 a.m. My math was off. Still 2 a.m. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. So let's start from the beginning. Yeah,
I guess I'll just kind of start from the beginning. So, I think for my story, when COVID first kind of came around, I wasn't really super worried about COVID. I think to start off with, like, why did I get the vaccine in the first place? We all know that they lied now, that they said it stopped infection and transmission and they withheld all the safety data and stuff like that. So I think one of the main things for me, I wasn't really afraid of COVID. It was kind of like that, do your part, and like my grandma, who's passed away now, but she was really old, and so I was kind of like, I didn't want to have anything happen to her, like if I got COVID. So that was the reason why I got it. And then, the first shot that I had got was Moderna. It was sometime in May of 21. And then the second one was where I had the immediate reaction. So that was June 22nd of 2021. And so I was at the pharmacy, you know, I remember specifically asking the pharmacist, like, have you guys been seeing any like weird reactions? And she just kind of like didn't even really answer the question.
Mhm.
And so, you know, right when she injected the shot, I had a metallic taste in my mouth and my face went numb. And I'm like, oh crap, this isn't good. And then it kind of lasted for like, you know, a couple minutes and then it went away. And I'm like, okay, I guess that was weird. And then, so yeah, right, immediate reaction. And then the next morning, so this is whatever, 12 hours later or something, I got up, and when I stood up, like I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. Like my heart rate was like, I'm like, oh my God, I think I need to go to like the emergency room. And I had like a little like Fitbit thing on. So I checked my heart rate and it was at like 144 beats per minute from just standing up, you know?
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, that's not normal. And so I went to the emergency room, and then this is kind of the start of like, you know, it was a really quick, like, you know, thrown right into the deep end of like, you know, so I'm having this weird reaction, and the nurses at the emergency room were just kind of like, you know, right when I mentioned, I think this is from the COVID vaccine, it was like, you know, the quickest introduction into like the gaslighting and, you know, the dismissive medical field. So I think within the first 3 days, I was in the emergency, at least within the first like 3 or 5 days. I can't completely remember, but I went into the emergency room like 3 times, and you know, they just kind of weren't taking it seriously. And so basically, at some point, someone finally acknowledged, like, okay, it seems like something's going on here. You know, they kept saying it's just anxiety, and I'm like, this is not anxiety, you know. And so that kind of progressed into they told me to see a neurologist. Like it started off with primarily that numbness in my face, and then like feeling like I was gonna have a heart attack and stuff like that. And I had some like pretty minor like numbness and tingling in like my feet, my hands. They like referred me to go see like a neurologist. They finally said like, okay, maybe it could be some type of reaction.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it was another one of those things. The neurologist tells me, yeah, you definitely, this is from the vaccine. And then it's just one of these things that I've learned over the span of this journey, where there's a lot of these situations where a doctor will tell you one thing in person, but then what they document, it's like, you know, patient believes. So it's very like, it's not really fully documented, like in their professional opinion, that it's an adverse reaction. So this first neurologist I saw had said like, you know, this numbness and tingling stuff, it's from the shot. He documented, oh, patient believes that. And then when I kind of said, hey, dude, like you told me that, you know, you felt like this was a reaction. And then like when it's not clearing up and going away, then he kind of changes his tune
Right.
and says, you know, basically like it's more gaslighting. So there's been a lot of that. And so that's pretty much kind of like the introduction entry into this whole situation. And I'm trying to think of where I want to go from here. There's so much that I could, you know, so I'm going with all these different doctor's appointments, trying to figure out what's going on. And like I have so much gaslighting from all these doctors. They're saying, oh, it's safe. It can't be that. I'm literally like thinking, you know, is there something else going on here? And I'm reading into the wrong thing. Even though I had the immediate reaction, I mean, that level of like gaslighting and dismissive doctors, I'm like, could there be something else that happened here? So I literally kind of went down this rabbit hole that I was like, what happens if when they injected me with the shot, like they reused a syringe? So I'm like, maybe I kind of caught something, which also doesn't make any sense to think of that, but I'm just trying to think out what could have
Yes.
happened, you know?
Yeah.
So anyways, I go to my my primary care, and I was like, can we do like a STD sweep panel if there was some like contamination of like a reused syringe or something like that. And I said like there would be no activity that would correspond, but I just want to make sure that something wasn't in the syringe or something like that. So anyways, I get a call after I do this blood test, and my primary care is like, "Are you sitting down?" And I'm like, I haven't got this kind of call before. And so she says, "You have HIV." And it was like my world, like, I'm on top of all this. I'm having all these weird symptoms, and all of a sudden someone just tells you you have HIV when there's no other activity other than, would have been from the shot. So I start like freaking out. She tells me, like, go to the emergency room. It's probably just like a false positive. So I go there, and, I had basically, I had 5 positive tests for HIV over the span of, I think it was 103 days. So I have all this just, my life just completely falling apart. And then I'm seeing this, immunologist, or no, I'm sorry, it was an infectious disease doctor. And he's like really kind of puzzled on, like, he at first he thought I was lying. I'm like, dude, if I did something, I would say, like, this is from the vaccine. And so yeah, I was presenting as that I was showing that I had a new case of HIV. And then about 2 months in, he finally, because I'm like just in like anxiety freak out mode, he's like, dude, like, I've seen around 15 patients at this clinic, in my office, that have tested false positive from the vaccine. So, I thought that was kind of crazy that, like, this isn't in the news. Like, you'd think,
Of course not.
yeah. And it was one of those things too. Like, ironically, right around that time, there was like the Reuters fact checkers garbage. It was like, I think actually there was a story that I was trying to research some of this. There was something in Australia that, like, there was some cases that were being reported there. And I'm like, okay. And then, but they're like, oh, that's all, like, there was a one weird instance in Australia, and then anything else is misinformation. And I'm like, well, I'm living through this. So, that's my whole, like, intro into, like, this gaslighting and, all the, misinformation that was really, all the government misinformation.
Mhm.
So, and then pretty much since then, I've, I was in a pretty dark place around that point with, like, thinking that I had HIV on top of this vax injury stuff. So it's pretty much as it's progressed. Like, I probably have like over 100 symptoms. Like, I can't eat the same foods. I have like these weird food allergies. I can't eat beef at all anymore. I have neuropathy throughout my body. Like, right now, my feet are on fire. The left side of my face is still numb, which is the side that happened immediately after the shot. I have tendinosis. I have to wear like this sleeve, like compression sleeve. There's just a ton of weird stuff, like brain fog. And yeah, it's been a nightmare. And so, I've tried a lot of different supplements and treatment protocols and stuff like that. And, I think as of now, I've probably spent like $70,000 on medical expenses. I can't work anymore, and I'm trying to get disability benefits. I'm not approved for that yet. I got one more chance in front of a judge. And
What do
yeah,
you mean one chance?
so basically the process that they have here, it's like they deliberately try to, like, make it hard for people to be approved. So the first two typically you get denied, and then you have to go in front of a judge. So I have a like attorney. It's one of those situations like it's free unless I win, and then they get a bunch of back pay or something like that. But yeah, it's just one of these things like, you know, right before I got the shot, I had a job where I would have been full time, and so it's like, you know, it's so many different categories of your health, your physical health, your mental health, financial stress, and then like, you know, right after I got injured, like that first day I was in the emergency room, I'm talking about on Facebook, like, I don't know what the hell is going on. And I'd have like a bunch of friends like, you know, oh, what are you, an anti-vax Trump supporter now? And I'm like, dude, that doesn't have, yeah, I'm like, I could die right now. And the first thing you're making is about like politics. I'm like, so it was just all these things just constant, like, this is just like constant overload of like, what the hell is going on? Everything's just weird, you know?
Yes.
And, yeah, so it's just, that's kind of the
America.
situation that I've been going through.
In America, Denise, someone's just asking what country.
Yeah, I currently live in Illinois, so I'm about like an hour outside of Chicago.
Okay. So what happened next? What was your next steps?
So pretty much, I had a lot of time where I was in the solo. I didn't know about the, you know, like these injured communities, which one of
Yeah.
them that I'm involved with is called React 19. So I'll come back to that in a little bit. But you know, so pretty much for the first year and a half or so, I kind of was still in that like gaslighty space of like, it's a 1 in a million. And I'm like, okay, I don't know any, you know, I don't know of any doctors telling me at that early stage in 2021 to 2022 that you know, that they're seeing all these reactions and stuff. And then of course come to find what we know now of like, you know, the 1,291 adverse reactions of special interest from Pfizer, all the conflicts of interest, all the corruption, all that stuff. So it's like all this was swept under the rug. You know, there's like Biden admin era. I don't remember what the project was called, but they literally had like a government funded project that was like censoring factual adverse reactions because they didn't want to cause vax hesitancy.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if they would have been honest and transparent, I wouldn't be in this situation. If they said, "Hey, here's all this crap that's going on," I would be like, "Yeah, fuck that vaccine," you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I got it because I'm like, okay, this thing has been out for a year now, and I'm not hearing anything. And so it's like that's the problem. We can't be claiming to do science and then censoring, you know, facts, known facts, and withholding, you know, data on adverse reactions, you know, and then like the package insert, you know, intentionally left blank. So
Yes.
it's all this corruption and stuff that I had no idea of like how gross and disgusting this was until I'm in this situation. And then, you know, so early on, so I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here.
No,
I
you're
was doing
fine.
I was
Fine.
doing a lot of research of like trying to figure out like, again, because I hadn't found like the community yet, trying to figure out like what the heck is going on here. Um, am I going to die tomorrow? Is this going to clear up in a week? You know, and you know, I'm trying to do a lot of stuff like that, and you know, so I kind of went on that supplement route first, and you know, I felt like one of the early things that I had learned too, like I couldn't figure out um, why it seems so random on some of these symptoms. Like, you know, like I get these really weird headaches where it feels like I have like 100 rubber bands like around my head, like squishing my head. And early on, I was like, it was like these really bad tension headaches. And then I learned like that was associated with foods that I became allergic to, which my whole life I've been able to eat, cheeseburgers or, whatever. And then so something with the shot just like flipped my immune system where it's like I'm allergic to that now. And but so I had this kind of like trial and error where I'm like, what the hell just changed from the start of today to in the evening, where I feel like, my health just did a 180. That's when I learned like the food allergies and stuff like that. And then yeah, so I'm sensitive to dairy. I have mast cell activation syndrome, which is something that's pretty common in like the injured community, where it's
What
like,
is that?
so mast cell activation syndrome it's super complex, but it's kind of like it's associated with like the food allergies, with like histamine, and it can present in almost all categories. Where like with mast cell, like really extreme cases, it'd be like anaphylactic response, and then it could cause like nerve pain, muscle pain, joint pain, headaches, brain fog. Like, so that's just one little piece that is causing all of these symptoms, let alone all the other things that are going on. So, and then so I'm trying to do some like asking the doctors like what's going on here. I had other false positives where like I had lupus and rheumatoid arthritis showed positive and negative a couple times. Those ones have been negative. So I guess I don't know if I made it clear before. I don't have HIV. That was false
You did,
positives. Okay, I just wanted to clear it because I'm like I don't want to, But yeah, it was pretty freaky and super stressful. So I've had all these weird false positives. There was the HIV false positive. There was the lupus. There's the rheumatoid arthritis, and yeah, so it's just like I'm trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. I'm not really getting any answers. This is a thing that's super common in like our injured community. So
Yes.
like our injured group that I finally eventually found is called React 19. So React 19 is a nonprofit. They raise money through something called the Care Funds. So anyone out there, if they're interested, like this is has helped me a ton. And I know a ton of other vax injured people. Like we have probably, I think, like in the United States, like kind of through React 19, there's around like 50,000. I could be off on that, but there's a lot of people that have just managed to find the group. Like it took me a year and a half before I found it. We still see people that are like just find the group like last week. But so React 19 is a nonprofit. It was founded by Brianne Dressen. So if anyone isn't familiar with her case or her story, she was in the AstraZeneca clinical trial, and she had a adverse reaction, and it goes through all the fraud. And then the other co-founder of React 19 is Joel Wellskog. He was a surgeon. He was forced to get I can't remember if he got Moderna or Pfizer, but so they started this organization to just as a community, and then also the nonprofit. They have the Care Fund where you can apply for a grant for medical assistance or for financial assistance, and so it's really helpful. Like I said, I can't work right now, and that really helps a lot, and massively impacts people's quality of life. And yeah, so pretty much as this has been progressing along, I mean it's really depressing, and it's like a hard pill to swallow, where it's kind of like you completely lose your quality of life, and then you're kind of like, okay, it's like it's constantly, like I use the expression, like the rug ripped out from underneath, where like I said, there's stuff that it all adds up. Like, okay, you can't eat a cheeseburger anymore. Like, okay, that sucks. And then now where I'm at, I have MECFS, which is chronic fatigue syndrome. So now I can't really walk anymore. And it's not that I physically can't walk. It's that it's like a neuro autoimmune response. So like my brain thinks that me walking like 200 steps, it's like my body freaks out like I just like ran a marathon, and I get like crashing fatigue. So it's another one of those things where it's just this complete loss of um your former self. And then you try to do like these things to try to like keep yourself from going crazy. So I tried to work on this stuff where it was like having a gratitude focus, where instead of focusing on all the things that I've lost, try to focus on like the things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And which I feel like some like that stuff helps. But it's still, I have a lot of time where it's like you're in memories of your former self. It feels like there's no future, there's no, it's like I feel like as of where I'm at right now, it feels like I'm pretty much like 100% guaranteed that I'm going to be dead like 2 years. So it's like it's hard to kind of go on through every day knowing like I just turned 32, and it's like there's no future. It's like what's the point? But I'm still here. But it's definitely hard to kind of keep going when you're knowing like you keep declining every year.
And Justin, your music is amazing. Absolutely beautiful.
I
So,
appreciate it.
oh,
That's
I love it.
definitely.
I love it. I often just get on and listen to it. So does that help? Does it help having your music still? I know you can't play like you, although I don't know what you would have played like before. You're amazing now, but I know it affects you like pain-wise.
Yeah.
How does it help
I
being able
so
to?
Yeah, I feel like, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I think that that's kind of I think that that's kind of like the main thing. I mean, I guess this sounds kind of like morbid to say, but I feel like I don't really have any other purpose like grounding me to like keeping me alive. Um, and I think music is pretty much that thing. And
Yeah,
like I have my mom and my dad, my sister, and some friends and stuff like that, but it's like it feels like it's kind of at the point where um the pain, it's like I look fine. That's the thing that throws people. Like I'm not missing an arm or something very obvious for people to see. Like you can't see nerve pain. You can't
yes.
see a lot of these weird things going on. You can't see ME/CFS. You can't see radiculopathy, degenerative disc disease, all these things going on. So, it's I think that music for me, it's like that the moments where I can kind of completely like temporarily all the pain and depression and anxiety of like what's the rest of my life going to be like, or how much more time do I have, all these things I can temporarily like just put this aside and like be in the music. So it's like it's very therapeutic for me. And I feel like it's very like truly like healing. And before I don't know, I think it was maybe halfway into this. So I developed, like I said, the tendonitis, tendinosis. So I really wasn't able to play at all for like a year. And then so that was hard, where I'm like the thing that helps me the most, I can't
Yeah,
do.
good way to
And then
take
so
off.
I found this thing called BPC 157 peptide. So which
Right.
was also like super triggering to, you have to inject it. So it's a peptide.
Yeah.
And I was like freaking out because I'm like, the last time that I put a needle in my arm, it ruined
Yeah.
my health. So I'm like, I'm taking a huge gamble of like, this could help or this could, make everything worse. And but yeah, so BPC 157 peptide. There's also like thymosin 1, thymosin 4, KPV. There's all these different peptides that help with like anti-inflammation, like nerve regeneration. Like BPC is one that like a lot of athletes use, where like if you tear a muscle, it's supposed to help like speed up the healing process faster. So yeah, I've been trying a lot of different things, and gradually, I think that the BPC helped with the my tendon. So I've been able to play a little bit more. Not where I was like before, where I could play like 8 hours a day or something. And then, just for like context on this peptide, I have been taking BPC injections probably for around like a year, which kind of gradually helped me be able to play, not like I used to. And my cousin had like some real nasty like shoulder tear, and I think he did BPC peptide for like 2 months, and then he was good to go. So like his very serious shoulder tear, or pretty serious thing, versus like tendinosis, which should be a little bit more mild comparatively to that. It's taken me a year to kind of make some progress in my arm, and his shoulder was like 2 or 3 months or something. So it's like this constant state of, the vaccine producing spike protein that's,
Yes.
attacking every cell and organ and muscle tissue and all that, just chronic inflammation nonstop.
Jason's just saying, what about stem cell therapy?
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's actually what I was just going to get to next. So earlier this year, I had done stem cell therapy at a place called Ways to Well in Texas. So it's very expensive, and it's another one of those things, like this was kind of like my Hail Mary, like last resort attempt to try to, get my life back on track. And so I think I had went sometime in March, and like earlier this year, and I talked with the nurse there. And originally I was going to go for like the tendon in the middle of my arm here, the bicep, because I have like muscle wasting going on too, which is also concerning. So originally I was going to kind of address those spots. And then also, as I have like degenerative disc disease in my neck and my lower back and all this stuff going on, we kind of decided to shift the plan, because like, and I agreed, the nurse was like, okay, we can do that if you want to stick with those spots, but the root is, you have all this neuro stuff going on, all this inflammation, like you're burning, freezing, numbness, tingling in your hands, all this inflammation in your hands and your feet, like it's stemming from your brain, in your spine, all the way down to the lowest part of your back. So it's like, if you have degenerative disc disease, you have, these disc issues going on, like I feel like we should address the root, which is the spine. So yeah, we had done I had one injection as IV, which is systemic, and then there was 2 localized. So like I did one like in my neck in the front. We split up the 2 syringes into like little chunks or whatever. And so I did one on each side of the lower, on my neck, and then one on each side of the lower part of my back. And I think since then, I would say my neck pain and like the popping how often that my neck would pop, or like my lower back would like be super stiff, I would say that's probably like 90% better. So it was very expensive, but that's something I feel like worked. So as at least finally, it was nice to have a win in that aspect. So I have stem cells coming up next week. And that's for my I'm gonna do the inner part of my arm, and then the biceps for the muscle wasting. And then I've had like some like arthritis-y, I can't remember what they called it. I think it's like another tendonitis type thing in my hands, like my fretting hands. So pretty much doing the same thing where they're going to split up the injections into different areas. So hopefully I have a pretty significant improvement. Like last time, I feel like it helped with my neck and my lower back.
Wonderful. That's good news. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's at least something, you know. It's like I got to get some positive in here.
Yeah, yeah. So, sorry, you can't eat beef anymore, can you?
No,
No, someone's
not
just
at all.
suggested.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
do beef. I can't do pork. Luckily I can still do chicken and turkey, which is great because like I feel like I would go crazy if I didn't have any meat at all. And also I have
Okay.
like nutrient issues, like you're not getting enough protein, you know?
Yeah. How many symptoms have you got, Justin?
It's way too many. I mean, I have it on my I have the whole list on my Facebook profile picture, like the whole long thing. With my brain fog, if I tried to list them all off, I'd forget. But it's like, you know, there's at least 50 different things, you know. There's so many different symptoms. It's in all categories too. So it's like there's neuro, there's immune system, there's, you know, cardiology, there's all these things going on, and you know, rheumatology. And that's the frustrating part, where it's like, because I've went to all these doctors and like kept pushing at like, this is an adverse reaction, which I'm jumping around again. You know, early on, I had like my primary care doctor, I had, you know, she acknowledged its adverse reaction. I'm like, I want you to submit this to VAERS to have this documented. And she
Mhm.
literally told me, like, I'm afraid to because I don't want to lose my job. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I pulled up the thing and like I Googled it. I'm like, it says you're forced, you're required to do this. You acknowledge this is an adverse reaction. You have to submit this. Like, you can't. So that's the problem. Like, a lot of the stuff behind the scenes, you know, the data is super, you know, inaccurate because there's doctors who didn't want to, you know, document this properly. And then, like I had said too, there was a lot of early on when I, you know, was going to the emergency room and stuff like that. It's like they were pressed on insisting that this was COVID. So like when I first, sorry, I should have thrown this in way earlier in the story, but
Oh,
like
that's okay.
when I was going to the emergency room, they were like, this has to be COVID. They kept testing me for COVID, which I was negative every single time. And they're still trying to say it's long COVID. So it's like using like the scientific, like evidence based, they're trying to pin it on COVID with having zero evidence of it being COVID. And then me having an immediate reaction, like they're still trying to blame it on this other thing. So I started telling them as like my kind of like smart ass answer to them, which I started kind of getting a little bit more sassy with them. I was like, this is like the equivalent of like if someone drank Drano and of some chemical, right? You drink Drano and they're coming to the emergency room and like they have kidney failure or liver failure. And the doctor says, what did you do differently within the past 24 hours? They say, well,
Mhm.
I drank some Drano. It's like, it's the fucking Drano, you know, like it's very clear what's going on here. And they just,
Yeah.
because it's the vaccine, they like, well, it's, you know, they just totally freak out and it's got to be anything else other than that. It's climate change or something, right?
Oh, which climate change is it's gone now. Bill Gates said
Mhm.
it's over. Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
over as well now.
yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, yeah.
So has anyone
So
they admitted it yet though? At this stage now, they're treating you for all these things. Have they admitted anything about it?
it's one of those things still where like a lot of these doctors, um, they admit it in person,
Right.
and there's more of them saying we're seeing more patients. Like I saw someone last week that has your exact symptoms. You know, so it's like this very slow, like the bar is moving, but they're still like, you know, not speaking up, which, you know, for like the other side of the spectrum here that doesn't get what's going on, and all they do is like just trust the doctors blindly, and anything that like I say doesn't mean anything unless the doctor says it. It's like we need
Yes.
these people to speak up, because I could talk till I'm blue in the face and show all my medical records, all the doctor's appointments I've went to, all the, things that are documented as, patient discussed these symptoms, the things that have been diagnosed. And it's still like they'll view it as like you're making it up, like I had another person too, like early on into the injury, where someone had like just trying to like dismiss the whole thing, where it was like, oh well, you didn't have perfect health beforehand. It's like no one has perfect health, right? And like my health, I had like the extent of my health issues was like I had carpal tunnel for like a couple months from like playing guitar, and that went away by itself. And then I did have the neck like discomfort going on before, and that was probably from like playing guitar, where you're kind of like your neck is in a weird angle. But obviously the neck pain wasn't at where it was now. So, like I had this former friend saying like, well, you didn't have perfect health before. And so I would kind of say like, this is basically like saying, if someone had a sprained wrist and then they get into a car accident and then they break their arm, it wasn't the car accident because you already had a sprained wrist. It's like both of these things could be, I didn't have all these other things going on beforehand, So there's just been a lot of that kind of stuff where it's like, I've spent so much time like arguing with people that are just completely committed to like misunderstanding this. They're not even really going into it with like, let me go into it with like a clean slate and really try to understand this. It's like, they're set on you're lying and I'm going to catch you in a lie. I'm like, I would have much better things to do with my life than be 4.5 years into this making up some story. Like what good does that do me? So
Well, do you still see these people?
it's interesting a lot. Like not really, but I've had a handful of people, like this one particular friend, I think is like in this process of just kind of trying to swallow this whole pill of my reality now. I've had a lot of like anger, which is not good for my health, and towards whoever, the government, pharma, fill in the blanks, And so there's certain moments where I'm like trying to like forgive people for myself, not for like saying what they did wasn't not saying what they did was okay, but I'm choosing to hold on to this anger. It's not good for my health. So it's kind of like I'm trying to be like the bigger person. So there was one year like I had messaged this friend, like, Merry Christmas or something. And like the first thing he said was like, dude, I'm really sorry. I was a huge asshole with what I said, so it's like, I've got some people that have apologized for like how they respond or how they reacted. And, so it's nice to have some people kind of like man up and, acknowledge like they kind of didn't handle it properly. But also he's one of those people too, unfortunately, like, when I last had talked to him, he hasn't said that he's vax injured, but he has had a bunch of weird health issues go on since getting the shot. So it's another one of those things where I think there's a lot of people who are vax injured that don't realize that they are because their doctor hasn't told them they are, because the doctor wants to say it's long COVID. As I already said, that whole thing. It's like there's no evidence, and they're completely set on it. It's COVID. It's not the safe and effective vaccine. So there's definitely a lot of that going on too, where the data is just completely wildly inaccurate on, long COVID versus, like vax injury.
Well, COVID's actually another side effect anyway from the vaccine. I'm not sure if you
Yep.
know that. It's
Yep.
on the list.
Yep. It's like literally one of the things they told us, oh, it'll prevent COVID, and then it's literally in the side effect, it'll cause COVID. And
Yes.
then like the people who've been vaccinated like have more infections than the non-vax people. Like for me, it's another one I forgot to mention because again, brain fog. There's so many things going on over the past 4.5 years. Like I have a blood test that shows my IgA is completely gone. So that's a part of your immune system. Ironically, part of your immune system that has like respiratory function and protection is gone. So for me, the vaccine that was supposed to protect me against a respiratory virus destroyed my immune system, completely deficient, zero, to have a shield against COVID. So it's like, it's crazy.
It's insane, and people, I think too, Justin, people are scared to admit that
Yeah.
they've got an injury.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, that I know from, like like the one friend that I mentioned, and I know some people in like my guitar community. There's a friend, I won't say any people's names. It doesn't matter on the specifics for the sake of this, but
Yeah.
I have a good friend that he, when my reaction happened, he thought like it's just your body had a weird response. And before I had found the guitar, or I'm sorry, not the vax injured community, and like there's all these people engaging with our posts where it's like, other friends are like, oh my God, there's like hundreds of people, like on your friends list that are injured. Like this isn't a 1 in a million thing. You guys all have the same symptoms. And so before I found like that injured community, he had went and got a booster because he, like I said, he just thought you just had a weird 1 in a million reaction. And like he is in like a cancer battle right now. So like he has a trach. They just cut out a hole in his throat. And so I was, talking to him, seeing how he was doing. He's like, he said he fully believes that it was from the booster. He's like, I had super weird symptoms kind of coming up like a couple weeks after. And then, so he's had some weird cancer stuff come about after he got the booster. So, there's a lot of people like that, unfortunately. And, I think there's a lot of people too, and not to like make it like a political thing because I'm kind of on neither side. But a lot of like the liberal people here, they refuse to like even question their belief. It's like they'd rather live in a lie, no matter how much information you give them. It's like the lie is more comforting than like admitting, oh, I've been fooled, I've been duped, or all that stuff. So it's like, which is ironic because it's like the people saying like follow the science and stuff. It's like they're ignoring all the evidence because the lie is more comforting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like if people feel like that happened to you, like that could be a slow process for like my daughter or something, where it's like it's just this complete like denial of like, I don't even want to think about that anymore. I think that's another part of this topic too, where like, unfortunately, like in this situation, just using like the extremes on both sides for an example, like the left wing side is like, you should like kill yourself for spreading misinformation. And it's like all this crazy, like way over the top. And then from the other side, I've got like the, haha, you deserve it. we told you so, you're a sheep, all that stuff. So it's like we're getting like shit on from both sides, and it's definitely, in my opinion, like it's definitely worse from the left side. Um, but yeah, it's just like we're we have, it's very minimal like support, and that makes it even harder. Where it's like you feel like the government's not there, former friends and like all these people disappear. Where it's just you know we're just trying to like survive and get by, and then when people post their stories and stuff like that, you're getting like both sides coming at you, and it's like
It's
again,
disgusting.
it's like I have nothing to gain from like making up a story. It's like it's odd.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just different over there, but I find here we seem to be a bit, the ones that didn't get it seem to be a bit more supportive of the people that are injured, in my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that I've seen here from like there's a Facebook group. I don't know if you're in it. It's called like Died Suddenly, I think.
Yes, I am.
And so like I've seen a lot of people in there where they kind of take the stance of like, well, you guys were like very pushy for us to get it, and it's like it wasn't me. I wasn't pushy. Like I agree. Like they way overstepped for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like an infringement on people's freedoms and rights, and like trying to mandate that. Like you can't mandate an experimental medical product, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like they're like the right side is mad at like me when I agree with them, and then like they're taking it out on me for something that someone else did to them 5 years ago, and then they're fine, they're healthy, and still taking it out on like the injured.
Yeah.
Where I think, and I think like that's definitely it's a small percentage comparatively, unfortunately, to like the other side. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's unfortunate because it's like, I know a lot of people who are kind of in this like headspace of like assisted death, where you kind of dying with dignity kind of stuff. And are people who have just, shot themselves or jumped in front of a train or, whatever. And that's definitely a tough place to be in, where you feel like you can't, like for me, like I can't afford to be alive, like I pretty much this round of stem cells is the last last bit of money that I have for like the rest of my life. So it's like I'm relying on help from other people and trying to get disability approved. And because of how our government functions, it's like, I feel like I'm not going to get approved. And it's also more, another like slap in the face because I've talked about the vaccine injury. I want it to be documented properly. And the doctors that don't want to make certain diagnoses because it's from the vaccine, that hurts my case on getting approved for disability that would at least help me with some financial relief. So,
Yes.
it's like for me trying to like spread awareness and like save other people is like cost me exponentially in all categories, like it's literally stemming from getting it in the first place of like do your part, protect other people, and that was a lie, and then like talking about it, getting harassed, stressing myself out, like, there's just so many layers to it. But
Justin, I hope you don't mind, but I actually took your what is it where you donate? I took your little
the
link.
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe, yeah. So I took the little link and I'll pop that up as we go out, if you don't mind, if
Oh,
that's okay.
I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those things like no one's obligated to care about me or any vaccine-injured person, and it really does, it means a lot for even just giving me the space to talk and share my story. And people that donate, it kind of makes you feel like people care. And that's hard, like I said, when there's people that you've known for your whole life and they disappear. And then there's strangers that come into your life that care more. So but it's definitely it means a lot for people that take the time to listen and care about our stories and our experience, and donate anything that they can to help, whether it's to an individual or like the organization, whatever it may be. Any organizations around the world, like our particular one is React 19. And I should have got more. Like I know I mentioned the when we were talking before, the Coverse, right? Australian. And but yeah, I'll talk with Bree and try to find some more that are around the world. If you can like edit it in after, or in like the video, the caption or whatever, we can add in some other organizations around the world. Maybe help out some other people that are trying to find a community in their country or something like that.
I'll pop them on my Facebook. All right, Justin, you have like 1 minute.
I have 1 minute.
Say whatever you want to say.
I have 1 minute. Well, I just want to say appreciate you having me on, and I hope that I was not too brain foggy, jumping all over the place, but appreciate people listening. And like I said, it definitely means a lot. And it's a tough situation to be in, and anyone that shows even a little bit of care and support and empathy definitely means more than you would think it would. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. I appreciate you. You take care.
You as well.
Keep in contact.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. All right, sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay. Well, what can I say, guys? What can I say? I'm just going to put the outro on and wish Justin the best, and thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.
Something was wrong, we felt it inside. Something told us do not comply. Turn off the news, turn off the TV. It's time to think, get off your knees. We tried to warn loved ones, oh did we try? We tried to save lives, but we were denied. Sadly we failed and many of them died. We were kicked to the side, we did not hide. We took to the street.